Velocity uses name ranges for everything. Every cuboid is referenced by name ranges. Every column has a name range. Even the formats have a range name. In this session, we will focus on how to use cuboid name ranges and to be able to form our own name ranges. We will also focus on how to use name ranges in data lists, pivot tables, and graphs. Let's start by looking at velocity cuboid or table name ranges. We will start with the drop-down list cuboid. Let's unhide the BW/ID column and highlight the entire table. We see the name of the cuboid show up in the name box. Notice the name, which starts with BW_T_, followed by the cuboid name. All tables' name ranges in velocity are prefixed with BW_T_, as shown in the drop-down for the name box. All the cuboids in our workbook are listed here. Selecting on any of these will take us to the cuboid sheet. We selected drop-down list. Selecting the BW/ID column shows us the name of that range. The only difference is the R for row IDs versus the T for table. Now, let us select the column of data category. The range name for the column is displayed. The prefix in this case BW_C_, followed by the table name ? And a number. This is the column ID in the database for the column. Notice the column ID is 2970. Selecting the regions column of the table shows us its range name. The ID on this column is 2971. Selecting the indicator column shows us its range name. However, the number is 3037, which is not contiguous, since the column was added later. During one of our videos, it gets the next available ID from the database for columns. We can refer to all the range names in our workbooks. For example, we can type in the name range in one of the cells. We will see the entire table. Hence, the range can be used in any of Excel's functionalities, like pivot tables and graphs. Similarly, we can reference the column name ranges too. Let's use the regions column from the drop-down lists cuboid. We see the column values have been replicated in the workbook. However, it is not a good practice to use the column names as the ID will change from development server to production server. Hence, we need to use range names where the ID numbers are not used. We can use the table range name to derive the column names as they don't have IDs, but names. For that, we will leverage Excel's offset function with the table name. The offset function needs a range name, which is our cuboid name, rows to offset by, columns to offset by, and optional elements such as height and width. The result is going to be a range that will spills over to the other cells. We are not going to offset any rows, hence the 0 value. We will offset one column to start our resultant range from region column. Let's analyze what this results in. Notice regions is the first column now. This is because we offset the column by 1. Since we did not offset any rows, we still have the column headers visible. Additionally, one sees a new column with 0 as its header and the zeros as values for all the rows. Now, if we wanted only one column, the regions column, then we need to define the width as 1 in the offset column. The result is that we see only one column, the region, with its header. Our result is exactly the same as using the column range name. We can create a range name for the column using this formula. You may recall we had created a range name using the offset function and called it DDL_regions, which gives us the same results. If we wanted to create a column range name for currency, we would make the column offset to 0. Similarly, to create a column range name for indicator, we would change the column offset to 2. It is good practice to create name ranges for columns that would be used multiple times in the application. These name ranges can then be used for drop-down lists. However, if used in their current form, the column header will show in the drop-down lists. We can use the offset function on our name ranges to remove the column header. In this case, the reference becomes our range name, and we offset by 1 row, 0 columns, and the height being 4. The height is 4 because the number of elements is 4. However, we should calculate the height, which can be done by using another Excel function, count A. Count A of our named range counts the header too, so we need to subtract 1 from it to get the desired number. So, now instead of a fixed number, we can now use this formula in the offset formula. This will ensure even if the number of items increases or decreases, our drop-down menu will adjust automatically. We can now use this formula for our drop-down menu in the transactions cuboid for the regions column. We can use velocity range names to generate pivot tables. Select the table name from the name box, copy the name. Open a new sheet, followed by selecting pivot table from the insert menu, followed by from table range. Paste the range name, and then we can pick our fields for the pivot table and design our pivot report. Using the table name ensures that we always use the latest updates to the data. Similarly, we can create a pivot table by selecting Pivot Chart from the Insert Table menu group. Paste the name range in the Table/Range field, and then select the fields for the list for the pivot chart. Notice a pivot chart and a pivot table are both created. The table has the same values as the table that we created earlier. You can hide the table by dragging the graph over it if you want. Velocity table name ranges are very helpful in creating our own name ranges, which can be used in our applications. Next, we will explore how to set up an attachment manager in Velocity.